Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Raising Cane's studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Means we're brought to you by Immense Cloud IT Management. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Fired up, you're here with us. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Sharief, Ishaq talking Saints draft coming up in 15 minutes. Glen West from Go 24/7 talking all things Tigers in 30 minutes. Aiden Anding out for the year. What does that mean for LSU's secondary? We'll talk about it coming up at 2 o'clock. LSU and Northwestern are on the diamond tonight at the box at 6:30. So we've got plenty to do. Let's dive in the way we do every day with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
Let's start with LSU football practice. Lane Kiffin gave the media over an hour today to take in LSU's football practice out there on the Ponderosa. You know, this is one of those reports where I watched for an hour. I got in the car, drove here, typed up the practice report best I could. Lane Kiffin had met with the media. I watched his 20-minute press conference, and then I had to come sit down. I got done with the press conference 6 minutes ago. So in terms of organizing a lot of thoughts and putting it in sequential order here for a gorgeous opening segment, we're a little bit rushed in time for that. So I'm just going to kind of let my notebook spill out onto the microphone here, and you'll know. I will say this big picture for the day. It was a much better effort by the LSU offense. I left Tiger Stadium on Saturday going, whew, this offense has no chance right now. And Lane Kiffin felt the same way. He talked about it right at the top of his press conference today, said it was really discouraging to watch the LSU offense try to make plays on Saturday. They couldn't really block, could not get open down the field, could not make any plays. They were turning the ball over. It was a tough scene for the LSU offense on Saturday. I thought they threw some punches back a little bit today. We got a chance to see some 11-on-11. That included some series. That included some short yardage. That included some goal line. We saw some 7-on-7. We saw some 1-on-1. So a lot that we got to. Let me kind of dive in with some of the things that caught my eye. We'll start with the 11-on-11 period. To paint that picture, everybody's in helmets and shoulder pads. They're all in shorts. They're never going to tackle the entire spring. Lane Kiffin said that today. But it was a physical period. It was a tempo period. The energy was up. The intensity was up. I thought that it was a reasonable look. Keep in mind, on running plays, you're not tackling. So sometimes a defensive end sticks his arm out. Sometimes a linebacker's there in the hole and the running back keeps running. Exactly how many yards they would have gotten on each and every play is a little bit difficult to discern. But you can see when holes open up. You can see when there's space created. And so I'll kind of go into what we saw in the 11-on-11s. It started off very poorly for the offense. It got better, but it started off very poorly for the offense. Winnie Watkins dropped a screen. They threw him another screen. He was tackled for a loss. Houston Longstreet was working with the first team. We haven't seen a ton of that thus far. He rolled to his right and fired an interception down the field. So that wasn't great. But they got into some short yardage, which means third and fourth and short, not necessarily by the goal line. And I thought Dylan Jones hit a really nice run up the middle for 5, maybe 10 yards there, but you could see the hole open up in the interior offensive line. Then Harlem Berry broke free on an inside run that probably was going to be a very big play, tackle or not. They opened a big old hole. He made somebody miss, and he was off to the races. That would have been a really nice run. The next snap, Landon Clark was in there, and they did a play action in the backfield, and Jackson Harris beat the defense, and Clark laid it in for a really nice touchdown. So on 3 consecutive plays, nice run, really good run, play action for a big play over the top. That, quite honestly, kind of looked like a Lane Kiffin offense. Running the football, moving fast, creating a big play. That was very good. You saw the second team come in, although there was a lot of rotation. So at times you're going to hear me say Caden Durham's working at the threes. It's sometimes you're got the starting defense out there, and I use air quotes, and Jace Thomas is out there. It's not a definite 1 through 11, but this is kind of the second group is what it looked like. In the first play in the short yardage was a direct snap to a non-quarterback, non-running back, non-offensive player. Direct snap to Deuce Gerald's true freshman defensive tackle. Lane Kiffin said today, that's kind of why I don't really want y'all at practice. This is the time of year we kind of want to look at some things. They snapped it to Deuce Gerald's. I don't know that he got a lot of yards, but he got some snaps in there. Zach Weeks was also part of the jumbo package for the first team. He came over from the defensive side of the ball. So to continue on with that second team, Husan Longstreet pulled a read option and ran it off tackle to the left. I don't know how many yards he would have gotten, whether or not he turned the corner. Hard to tell there, but he does run pretty well. There was a false start. Dominic McKinley made a tackle for loss, which was nice to see. Jace Brown got involved with a quick screen. He's the Kansas State transfer. They hit Malik Elzy for a 20-yard gain, although while that was a really nice throw and a really nice catch by Elzy, I think Dylan Carpenter had a sack on the play. Like, I saw the defensive line coach pump his fist. Carpenter did beat the tackle. I think he probably gets a sack there, but good. You had a good pass rush. If the pass rush wouldn't have gotten there, nice throw and catch down the field. Zach Weeks also had a tackle for loss in that period. There was a third team group. Caden Durham had a short run. Rod Gainey had a nice run there. They had a tackle for loss on Durham from Amari Peterson, the corner. And then Mason Dossett had an interception of Emil Picarella. Dossett's a transfer safety who came in. Picarella, the third team quarterback right now with Levitt out, will be fourth team when that time comes. What I noticed from a lot of these reps, and especially some of the goal line stuff that we saw, Dylan Jones did a nice job. They've really liked the way that he's played. He got in the end zone in the goal line package. Stacey Gage took a couple of direct snaps and got into the end zone 3 straight times on the third team. So that was a lot of the highlights from the 11-on-11. I thought the offense opened up some holes in the ground game. They hit some big plays in the running game. I thought it looked pretty good for the offense for the most part. Now, let me get you into some one-on-one results that I saw. We'll start with the offense-defense line in pass rush, and then we'll get to the wide receivers and the DBs. Weston Davis had 2 really nice reps in the one-on-ones. He beat Dylan Carpenter, and then he beat Jordan Ross. Did a good job holding his line there. Darren Stray and Malik Blockton went at each other twice in a row. That's how they did most of these reps. 2 guys would go back-to-back. I kind of like that. The guy that gets beat maybe on the first rep maybe has a chip on his shoulder in the next one, and if you beat somebody twice, you've really done something. So I thought it was good to see Darren Stray and Malik Blockton split 2 reps. William Satterwhite and Sean Washington as reserves split 2 reps. Then Jordan Seaton came in. This was noteworthy. I feel like I've seen this before. And trust me, like this is not just me leaning on the easy comparison. It's very noticeable, okay? Very noticeable. Jordan Seaton had 2 reps against Dylan Carpenter, and it looked exactly like Will Campbell. Seaton would kick step backwards, set himself up, and then boom. I mean, just lock in on Carpenter, who would go nowhere. And most of those reps, especially at tackle, do not look like that. When you've got a pass rush drill with an edge rusher against a tackle, there is so much space. There's usually a lot of movement. Sometimes it's not even like realistic as to what a real pass rush might look like. When a tackle is able to just like tractor beam an edge in and just stonewall, that does not happen very often. Campbell did it almost every time, and Seaton did it twice to Dylan Carpenter, where it was just like, whoop. It was like he got magnetically sucked in, and that's all he could do. It was really impressive. Damian Shanklin had a really nice rep against Devin Harper and bullied him to the ground. Deuce Gerald's also won a rep against Devin Harper, the Ole Miss transfer. However, Harper bounced back. He went against Jaylen Brown twice and won both of those reps. I was really impressed, especially based on their age. Richard Anderson, former 5-star freshman, true freshman, won a bull rush against Bo Bordelon, who's a very old player. And Bordelon's had a really, really nice start to camp thus far. Spring camp, I should say, and Anderson won a bull rush against him. Bryson Martinez also had 2 really nice reps against Damian Shanklin. So that was a look at some of the offensive and defensive line one-on-ones. Wide receiver DB. Now, keep in mind on this one, this very, very, very much is skewed to the offense. There's so much space out there. You've got no safety help. You got no linebacker help on the inside. You got no pass rush. The quarterback can sit there and pat the ball and throw the ball all over the field, and you got the wide receiver against the DB. So keep in mind this is very much skewed to the offense. But Trey Wilson beat Jakeem Jackson in a battle of former Florida Gators. I thought there was a couple of really nice reps by Jace Brown, who just absolutely torched Fahim Delane on a double move, just really smooth and got deep for a deep ball. Jabari Mack, first spring here for the freshman, he beat P.J. Woodland on a deep ball. Fahim Delane came back and got a nice breakup against Jace Brown. PJ Woodland, really good play on a slant. Jackson Harris, big physical Hawaii receiver, ran a slant route, and PJ Woodland undercut it and really did a great job of breaking that up. Battle of true freshmen. Havon Finney beat Corey Barber on a really good rep and knocked a pass away. Jackson Harris did beat PJ Woodland a little bit later on a double move for a deep ball. And the last rep was Jackson Harris against PJ Woodland, and it was a really good rep by everybody. Harris ran a good route down the sideline. Woodland was kind of there, stride for stride. The ball was put up deep, and I didn't chart the quarterbacks on this. There's too much for me to write down to get the quarterbacks on every rep. Apologies, but doesn't really matter. You're talking about Woodland in good coverage. Harris climbed the ladder, went up and made the catch, but came down with just 1 foot just out of bounds. So it was an incomplete pass. Good coverage by Woodland. Nice job by Harris to go up and high point it, but he couldn't get one down. Roman Mothershed also had a really nice back shoulder catch on Havon Finney. That was a really good play. The special teams period we saw, I thought the only like really noteworthy thing, I'll tell you who the returners were, but Trey Wilson from Florida muffed 3 punts in a row. I don't know if I've ever seen that, but that's not real encouraging. I don't know if that means a ton in September, but one is like, oh, he muffed a punt. I made a note. And then they punted again and he muffed it again. And so I made a note again. And then he muffed a third one in a row. It's like, that's not great. Your punt returners were Jabari Mack, true freshman, Jace Brown, Winnie Watkins, Dylan Jones, the running back, was back there, Trey Wilson, and Tyree Holloway from Northwest Florida. And then your kick returners were Stacey Gage, Caden Durham, Harlem Berry, all running backs. And then Corey Barber, the true freshman wide receiver, was back there as well. The kick returners were clean. It was a shorter kickoff, and they didn't drop one today. So just the muffs on the punting. Nothing of super note in the final team period. I thought a nice job on one play by Jordan Ross, the defensive end from Tennessee. He backed into coverage and made an interception, which was a nice play. That was kind of the big news and notes from the day. I will tell you, because we'll do Levitt Watch like every practice. He was out there. He had on his no-contact jersey. He had on a helmet. He had on shoulder pads. And he didn't do anything. Like, I kept watching him in the individuals to see if he would grab a ball and make a couple throws, because he's done that a good bit early on in spring. He even did a little bit of that walking around in Tiger Stadium on Saturday. But today, Levitt was fully dressed with the rest of the team, shoulder pads, helmet. He had the tennis shoes on with the surgically repaired foot. He did not participate in practice. And Lane Kiffin talked about that today, and I'll probably get to it when we play the sound a little bit tomorrow. But said, one of the things that we knew we signed up for when we signed Sam Levitt is that the offense would have some growing pains in spring. It's a new system. It's all new players, and you don't have your starting quarterback. That could be a bit of an issue, and it looked like it on Saturday, no question about it. However, today, while the defense made their plays, you heard me talk about a couple of interceptions, Dylan Carpenter coming around for a sack, big TFL for Don McKinley. Like, there were certainly some really good plays by the defense. I thought the offense threw some punches back today in the running game and in the deep passing game. So that's always good. Forever and ever, amen. I'm going to hope, upon all hope, that when we go out there, especially in fall camp, that the reps look split, because I have seen the reps in the course of multiple years not be split and one side of the ball really dominate, and those teams weren't good. So you hope that both teams go out there and throw their punches over the course of a practice, and I really did think today that happened. So appreciate Lane Kiffin for giving us as much time as he did, and we'll get another look at practice a little bit later on this week. Got a full practice report, Matt and myself. There's stuff in that practice report that I didn't talk about just now, 7-on-7 reps and some other things that you can get into and check it out for free on LouisianaSports.net right there on the homepage. So highly recommend you go check that out at LouisianaSports.net. We got a couple more guests coming up in this hour. Sharief Ishaq's coming up. Glen West will be with us as well. We'll talk some baseball in hour number 2. And I've got a thought on the basketball transfer portal, which is moving very, very slowly. I'll get to that at the end of hour number 1. Our Tuesday show is brought to you by Immense Networks, Cloud IT Management. We'll come back with Sharief Ishaq next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. A renovation / remodel doesn't have to be a big project. Doesn't have to be an invasive project. Doesn't have to be a time-altering project that just feels like they never leave. That's not the case. A tub-to-shower conversion can be done in 3 to 5 days. 3 to 5 days for a tub-to-shower conversion. So if you've got an old bathtub, you've got a dingy bathtub, you've got a bathtub that doesn't function or that you don't use, well, why do you have it? It's taking up space. Get rid of it and put in that gorgeous shower. Change the aesthetic of your bathroom, change the functionality of your bathroom, and do it with the company that's been doing it for 40 years. David Duvall in One Bath and Closets. You can get that free consultation at onebathandclosets.com. And understand, financing options are available, 0% up to 18 months. It's all there online at onebathandclosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Shout out GoTro's Outdoor Power. GoTro's Outdoor Power. You can find them online at GoTrosOnline.com. But stop in. 2 locations, one Baton Rouge and Airline Highway, one in Gonzales. They've been at it for 22 years. You can buy a zero-turn mower at a lot of the big box stores, right? But what's the difference? Well, one, I tell you with GoTro's Outdoor Power, you're going to get that personal touch, that community feel. You're going to get that customer service. The other piece is actually tangible. Yeah, you're going to get the warranty with the manufacturer of the equipment. You can get that anywhere. But how about the extended warranty that comes from GoTro's? You can add 2 years or 200 hours to the manufacturer's warranty with GoTro's being the guarantor. That's what they do over at GoTro's Outdoor Power. So if you're looking for a new zero-turn mower, it's time that grass is going to be growing now for the next 6 months. Get behind one from the folks at GoTro's Outdoor Power. You can stop by Airline Highway or in Gonzales. And check them out online at GoTrosOnline.com, GoTrosOnline.com. Sharief, Ishaq, WDSU down in New Orleans, talking Saints. I feel like we're pretty close to the draft now. I feel like we've talked about the draft, and I felt like we're not close to the draft. We're close to the draft now. Is there some excitement building down in the 504, Sharief?
Yeah, it's the changing my picks every week, back and forth between 2 or 3 players for the 8th overall pick. So that means the excitement is 100% in the air on Airline Drive.
I'm curious your thoughts before we go to individual players in the draft. Let's just take the Saints offense and the Saints defense. We know what they were last year. We know there were injuries. We know what free agency brought early on, especially with the additions on the offense at guard and running back. So, what side of the ball do you feel like is in better shape today, offense or defense?
Oof, that's a tough one, man, because I think each side needs a serious piece or two to complete that side of the ball. But I am going to give it a slight lean to the offense.
Okay. Why would you say that?
Well, because they added, a dynamic playmaker and Travis Achan, and they added a very good guard in David Edwards. So that gives me, hope that the offense is slightly ahead of where the defense is. Even though the defense has some really good pieces, I still think that they addressed important positions of need more so on the offense than defense, even though they got Caden Ellis. But I think they addressed 2 very important pieces for them on offense with more to come, I think, in the NFL draft. So the slight edge right now goes to the offense.
I agree with that because you look at the offensive line and you have a small issue at right guard. I'm not even calling it a question mark. It's an issue. And then you're probably 1 playmaker short. On defense, I've got some questions about linebacker. I've got some questions about the interior defensive line, and I certainly have questions about your ability to hold up at corner consistently week in and week out, especially against the best players in the NFL. So, I don't think that there are massive problems on the defense, but I just think there are less question marks on the offense. So with that being said, do you feel like in the course of that conversation we've determined that the defense is where we probably need to make that pick next week, or the first one?
Well, they can't go wrong with a pick at either side of the ball. It depends on who you're asking. If you're asking me, I still believe Tyler Shuck needs to get another dynamic playmaker.
Okay.
Without a question. Look, yes, they have Travis. Yes, they have Chris. Yes, they have Devon. But after Chris and Devon, they really don't have anyone reliable. I mean, yeah, you could say they have Jalen Polk, but who and what is he going to be? We don't know that. Mason Tipton, really not much. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what else you're going to do on offense? I mean, yeah, they got Juwan Johnson. They still need another tight end. So it all depends on how the draft board falls. If you're asking me, Hunt, who I would want versus who's going to be there, I would say I would want Carnell Tate, receiver from Ohio State. Realistically, what I think is going to be there, and this won't be a bad pick. This would be a great pick at Mansour Delane from LSU.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know that. So I would be happy with either guy. You can't go wrong with Mansour or Carnell with that pick.
What about edge rusher, because you have Granderson and Young under contract, and you realize that Cam Jordan is still out there? And I'll be honest, like, I kind of feel like Cam Jordan's coming back to New Orleans because I don't think there's a market for him elsewhere, and I think the Saints are probably the only team that's going to give him some money. So, like, how do you feel about edge rusher right now?
You know, it's maybe something you can address later in the draft, maybe third round. I mean, look, if it's, I don't know if I would. I'm on the fence when it comes to Ruben Bain. If you're left with Ruben Bain, Malachi Lemon, and Jordan Tyson on the board, I feel like Ruben Bain I guess would be your pick at that spot since receiver is kind of deep in the draft. But you know, I in my opinion, I would go receiver, corner first, and then one or the other in the second round, and then maybe try to address edge in the third round. I know it's not that deep of a position, but I still think there's some talent there in the third and fourth round where you can find somebody to help the depth on that offensive line.
I've gotten some different opinions on this question. I'm curious your thoughts. Is it important to you if the Saints take a wide receiver in the first round or the second round? I think it's likely they take one in one of those two rounds. Is it important to you that player look and play different than Chris Olave, or do you just want somebody that's good? And if they're 6 feet and 185 pounds and run good routes, like that's kind of what Olave does, but we'll just take two of them.
I would love a good football player. How about that? I would love a good receiver. And I don't care if they run the same routes. I would love them to be a little bit bigger. How about that? I'd love a good football player who's a little bit bigger. You know, that's why I like Carnell Tate a lot. I mean, there are a lot of good receivers in this draft. It's a deep receiver. I mean, you can go in a number of directions there. I mean, like I'm good with whoever. I mean, I would just like to see Tyler Shuck get another difference maker on offense. I mean, I've gone through a number of mock drafts, and I just keep coming back to Carnell Tate or somebody else in the second or third or fourth round. But don't be surprised if they address it twice, son. They're better off getting a receiver maybe in the second and the fourth round, or the first and the third round, or first and the fourth round. It wouldn't hurt them.
No doubt. It's but you do have some questions. Now, one name we have not talked about here, and it's at a position we haven't talked about, is Caleb Downs. That's not in the conversation that we have had up to this point. What are your thoughts there?
A lot of people bring up a good point about the top safety in the draft. How often does the top safety in the draft go in the top 8?
Not often.
And not often. I mean, they talked about, was it Derwin James,
Jamal Adams,
Calvin, Jamal Adams. I mean, they've seen so many good safeties that say, man, these guys are surefire top 10 picks. And look, they go 12 to 20. Caleb Downs is a good safety. Look, he could play the star, he could play the slot, he could play safety. Good tackler, good defender. Or are you going to take the number 8 pick on him? I think he's going to be there at number 8. Are you going to take that pick at number 8? I mean, I think the only way that happens is if all 4 of their guys are off the board. And even then, I don't know, man. I mean, he could really fill a couple positions for you if you draft him. But at number 8, it just feels like it's a bit too high for me, even though he's a really good football player.
Last question. This one's unanswerable, and even if you asked it in a press conference, they wouldn't give you a truthful answer. But I just want your gut from being around that program for a long time. We know that Sean Payton carried a lot of weight in the draft room. I'm curious how much you think Kellen Moore carries after year 1.
I think he carries a little bit more than we think. I think that Tyler Shuck pick was his. He wanted Tyler Shuck. You've got to think about it, Hunt. He was at Tyler Shuck's pro day last year, and he got Tyler Shuck. He was at Kelvin Banks' pro day, and they got Kelvin Banks. So I think Dennis wasn't that guy. So I think Dennis was probably like, he asked for help from the front office and let the front office make pretty much most of those decisions. I don't think that Dennis was that type of coach. I think Kellen, even though, in press conference, he doesn't say much. He's a smiley, giggly type of guy. He doesn't give you much. But I think behind closed doors, he likes to make those decisions. So I think he's going to have even more input this year. That's why I think he is going to need to, get his guys again this year and help out Tyler Shuck, whether if it's the first or second or multiple picks. But I think they're going to have to do that, and I think he's going to have a good say-so in this draft.
Here's what I think. I think that most Saints fans and most football fans in general feel good when you take a running back, when you take an offensive lineman. It's like, all right, you got to be good up front. Yeah, the Saints have done that so much, and they're not going to do that on Thursday of next week. And I just think that whoever the pick is, that Saints fans are going to have fun with it. They're going to be like, oh, this is really exciting, because it's not super exciting to get a right tackle. Like, you got to have it. It's got to be great. We know how good a right tackle, how big a good right tackle can be. Ryan Ramczyk was one of the best in the NFL. But, there are more positions that are more fun to talk about, and I think that's what's going to happen next week, right?
I hope so. The one thing that scares me, Hunt, if Francis Maui Noah is on the board.
Yes.
Miami offensive lineman. He's awesome. The number one offensive lineman.
Yeah.
That scares me if he's on the board at number 8, because you know what they're going to do if he's there at number 8. Just saying.
I would probably chuckle, and that wouldn't be a bad pick. He'd probably be a right guard. But it's not the most fun thing to talk about. I'd like to talk about somebody who's going to score 15 touchdowns. So we'll see if they can get that figured out next Thursday. We'll talk about it again next week. Thanks, Sharief.
You got it, Hunt. See you next week.
He's Sharief Ishaq, WDSU down in New Orleans, joining us a little bit early here on this Tuesday. Glen West going to be with us coming up next, talking Tigers. Glen talks some. He was at practice today, so we'll talk a little about that. He was at Lane Kiffin's press conference today. We'll talk about that, and certainly LSU baseball, as well as the Tigers are on the diamond tonight against Northwestern State at 6:30. Speaking of tonight, if you're looking for something to do this evening, Court to Table is an awesome spot to be. Come by and see us. 8 o'clock, we'll be doing sports trivia from inside the bar area there. You can win gift cards. You can win time on the pickleball court. Have some delicious drinks. We'll be watching LSU baseball on the television, so always enjoy our time there. 8 o'clock till about 9:15 is all it is. So if you want to go do something tonight on a Tuesday, come see us at Court to Table on Burbank. That's where we'll do sports trivia starting at 8 o'clock. Come back with Glen West next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC, FabryChevrolet.com, FabryChevrolet.com. The entire inventory is online at FabryChevrolet.com, but I highly suggest you go by and see him on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Highway 61 in St. Francisville. The Fabry family's been at this for nearly 4 decades, right? They're a trusted name in this community because of their customer service, because of the buying experience, because of the service after the sale. You can rest assured when you go see them in St. Francisville, you're going to have a wonderful experience. If you'd like to start that experience online, I get that. That's how we start most of our experiences here. I don't really go to a restaurant without checking out the menu online. You're buying a car. That's a little bit bigger investment. You want to start online right there, you certainly can. But go by and see them on Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Up to $11,000 off Silverados, up to $13,000 off GMC Sierras. Great time to get a truck, great time to get an SUV, great time to visit my friends at Fabry Chevrolet GMC, online at FabryChevrolet.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Tuesday shows brought to you by Immense Networks Cloud IT Management. Just talk some Saints with Sharief Ishaq. Let's talk Tigers. Glen West, senior writer at Go247, gives us time on Tuesdays. Glen, how are you, sir?
Doing great, Hunt. How about yourself?
Doing all right. You were out at practice today for a while. Where'd you spend your time?
Yeah, I think, just kind of roaming around, getting a couple extra hours in over the last couple of days with these practices, whether it's the scrimmage on Saturday and then Tuesday today, just kind of getting a feel for how they operate practice here under Coach Kiffin. And, they did some one-on-one drills. They did a lot of team periods. They did some short yardage and goal line situational work as well. I think for me, one of the things that has kind of stood out over the last couple of days that we've gotten to have some of these extended viewings has been the running back room. I think there's a lot of competition going on there right now. Obviously, we knew that Harlan Berry and Caden Durham were going to get a lot of work this spring. But Dylan Jones, the Wisconsin transfer, and then Stacey Gage, the UCF transfer, I think have both done some really good things. They've been getting a lot of looks here with that quote-unquote first team over the last couple days of practice. And I think that they feel like this is going to be a real open competition at that position group, really beyond spring and going into fall and into the off season here. So that's maybe one thing that stood out to me. I think the offense today had a much better day overall in the team period stuff than what we saw in the scrimmage on Saturday, which is good to see. The defense pretty much dominated the scrimmage on Saturday, and Coach Kiffin kind of alluded to that in his press conference afterwards. But the offense, I thought, made some nice plays. They kind of caught the defense out of position on some different plays throughout the course of the practice, and I thought overall it was a real physical, real good start to the week here for LSU.
You'll ask Lane Kiffin about the offense, and he went back to Saturday. Can you kind of synopsize his thoughts on Saturday's effort offensively?
Yeah, I'm not surprised by his disappointment, I guess, with the offense's performance on Saturday. It was a little bit of a rough go for them, but like I said, I thought that they bounced back and did a nice job today, and had made some plays. And I think one of the kind of more surprises of maybe the skills position group players has also been someone like Roman Mothershed, a transfer that they got out of the portal this year. He's a legit 6'3", 6'4". He made one of the best plays of the day on Saturday. I think it was a 45-yard touchdown down the left sideline of one of the scrimmage drives there. But, look, I think part of the thing here that Coach Kiffin talked about with us today is that they knew when they signed Sam Levitt back in January that it was going to be a little bit of a rough go here in the spring as guys kind of started to get adjusted to the new system, and particularly at the quarterback position with guys like Landon Clark and Hussam Longstreet, who really don't have a ton of experience playing, athletes of this caliber at the college level. It's been a little bit of an adjustment for those two guys, but I think it's something here that is good for them and is good for their experience level, and hopefully they can get Levitt back here on the field sometime over the course of summer and certainly going into the fall camp as well.
Glen West with us, senior writer over at Go 24/7. We'll get to baseball to wrap things up, but just a quick thought. Are you a little bit surprised that Will Wade has not reeled in a transfer to this point? The entirety of the transfer portal moving a little bit slowly in college basketball right now.
Yeah, I normally maybe would be, going like a whole week here with the portal open with nothing really done. But I kind of did a little bit of a deep dive into the portal, I think on Sunday or maybe it was Monday morning. Really there's only been, I counted it up, out of the top 200 players, at least as of like Sunday, late evening, early Monday, only about 20% of the top 200 players had signed with a new program. And so there's still a lot of really good players out there. There's still obviously a lot of behind-the-scenes work going on with Coach Wade and that staff right now as they try to really figure out what they want and who they want to bring in here. So, and I think the other thing here is that a lot of the players that we heard maybe linked to LSU last week or early last week haven't made their decisions yet. I think the one exception so far has been PJ Haggerty, the guard, who's since gone to Texas A&M. But there's still a lot of really good players out there who haven't made their decisions yet. And LSU's going to just continue to work on them, and hopefully we get some answers here sooner than later.
All right, let's talk about the baseball team. They go to Oxford and come up empty over the weekend. How big a deal is that?
It's a huge deal. I mean, I think, if you want to kind of stay on pace here to make a tournament run, you had to get at least one. And, to get swept here, now you're going to have to really make up for it over the next 5 weeks. Their RPI is not in a great place right now. They only have they have enough conference games to technically get their way back into this thing and feel good about their positioning going into the tournament. But it's just a team right now that has a lot of issues that they're continuing to work through. And I think there was a couple of weeks period there against Kentucky and against Tennessee where maybe you thought they might be starting to put some things together, but there were also still some issues in those series that have certainly reared their ugly heads here this last weekend in Oxford. And I think you have to start, obviously, with the pitching. It really doesn't look like there's a whole lot of guys right now that LSU can trust to go get you some length in any of these games. I thought they struggled on the mound as a whole this last weekend offensively when you only score, I think it was 12 runs over the 3 games. and really you didn't show up in that Sunday game except for one inning, that you were able to kind of hit yourself back into the game a little bit there. Just a lot of inconsistencies right now throughout the course of this team, and they really need this week to go very smoothly if they really want to get back into that postseason picture and make some noise here in the last month of the season.
If Jay Johnson gave you a call and said, Glenn, I don't know who I'm going to start tonight. I'm just going to take your advice on it. Who would you start on a Tuesday against Northwestern State? The starts in the midweek have not gone super well. How would you handle tonight?
Yeah, look, it's going to be another platoon kind of system thing here. I mean, it's a great question because it seems like they've tried everybody, to be honest with you, in that spot, whether it's Reagan Ricken, Omar Marcos Paz, Jaden Newt's had a start there.
Gavin Guidry started in Lafayette.
Yeah, I mean, like they've gone through pretty much all the options here, and I don't really know where they will go, to be quite honest with you. I think maybe Paz, just because I think Sunday he gave you a clean inning, didn't throw a ton of pitches. Maybe Jay's like, all right, let's just lean into one of the only guys that gave us a clean inning here. Maybe he can get us 3 or 4 outs, and then you kind of just piece it together after that. But they just need these guys to throw more strikes. I mean, they're just not finding the strike zone very consistently right now. I thought the Saturday game was just a real disaster. Just kind of really fell apart on them quickly on the mound, and so they've got to find something here. They just don't have a whole ton of arms outside of Zach Callen and William Schmidt and maybe to a lesser degree Casey Evans, who they can really count on to get some length out of their on the mound for them. So they've got a lot of work to do there.
Certainly do. You feel like Braden Simpson tonight at second base? I'm assuming Seth Dardar is not going to be able to play.
Yeah, I think so. I think that makes the most sense. Certainly there's not a whole lot of other options there. I think Trent Carraway's also been a little bit banged up here recently. He hadn't played in a while. I think that's probably where they end up going there. And Pearson at third. Mason Braun, I would imagine, will continue to start at first. I thought he was maybe one of the lone bright spots offensively for you. He had 5 hits over the weekend. I know he got picked off in a very crucial moment there in that first game, but they just need somebody to give them some kind of contributions offensively at that position, and I think he's at least showed you enough over the weekend to continue at least playing at first base for the short term here.
Last one, 15 SEC games to play. Do you think they're going to make the NCAA tournament?
Right now, I would probably lean more towards no. I mean, they're in a really rough spot right now. I think for me, can they get to that 15-15 mark to make things interesting? I think they'd have to go 9-6 for the rest of the conference schedule. I'm not even sure if that would be enough, though. Even if because of the non-conference losses that they have, they might have to have a winning record in SEC play to really kind of get firm positioning there. I remember last week after they lost to Bethune-Cookman, they talked about needing to probably win an extra 1 or 2 games to make up for that loss. Well, now you just lost to Ole Miss in 3 straight games. I think you might have to get to another 10 wins here in conference play over the next 5 weeks. So we'll see if they can do it, but there's certainly a lot of work that they have to do in order to get into that spot. We
shall see. See you this weekend at the box, Glenn. Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7, talking a little bit of Tigers. Our Tuesday shows are brought to you by Immense Networks, Cloud IT Management. If you are unhappy with your IT situation, which is the case with a lot of people, with a lot of businesses, how about you give Immense a shot? Immense has been in business for 20 years. They're locally owned and operated by some LSU grads. They're available for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are a proactive IT management company. That means they're constantly monitoring your system to make sure that they get out in front of issues that may arise. That's the difference. When we think about IT, we think about, well, this computer's frozen now, like, come help. I've been there. You've been there. If you're a company that's 50 to 100 employees and you're just not thrilled with your IT, whether you're overworking your one IT staffer or you've got a third party that's just not doing what they said they would do for you, Immense would love a chance to earn your trust. They've done it with dozens and dozens and dozens of clients around the state of Louisiana. They've got experts in QuickBooks and Salesforce and other CRMs. but they're so much more than that. They're proactive and they're consulting, and they're here to help you use technology to further your business. So just have a meeting, have a conversation with the folks at Immense. Go to their website, immense.net. That's immense.net. And give them a try. They bring you our Tuesday shows each and every week. That's Immense Networks Cloud IT Management. Glenn says there that feels like they may have to get to 16 and 14 or so. I would go on the under on that. I don't think they're completely cooked at 13. I think at 14 they should feel really good about things. SEC teams with a 14 and 16 record, I believe, have gotten in every single time. Now, I understand LSU shortcomings in the non-conference, and look, you rattle off 2 more non-conference losses and you're saddled with that many Q4 L's. Like, it can be a different conversation for sure. I don't buy the thought, and this is early to have this discussion, but I don't buy the fact that the purple and gold hat's going to get you in the field. I don't think that's the case. In fact, I think the purple and gold hat hurt you back in 2011. So you'd like to take it out of the hands of the committee. I don't know if LSU's in a spot to do that. I, too, lean on Glen's side that I would, if you made me bet $4 on whether or not they make the NCAA tournament, I would bet against it. But I also understand that one weekend can make a massive difference. I mean, how different do you feel about Tennessee after they go sweep Mississippi State? How different do you feel about Texas A&M after they take 2 and don't lose against Texas? How differently do you feel about, Florida? They beat Georgia 2 out of 3. In the same vein, like, how different do you feel about LSU today than you did before last weekend? How differently do you feel like Missouri, they got swept by South Carolina. They just won a series. One weekend changes things so rapidly, and that can happen again if you go out there and play really well against Texas A&M. You beat A&M 3 times in a row, which, trust me, I am not picking them to do by any stretch of the imagination. But if you did that, which is possible, if you went out there and won 3 games in a row, like, your RPI would shoot up 20 spots, and your conference record would be flipped on its head, and you'd all of a sudden be 9-9, and like, everything would be different. But they haven't given you reason to change the framework. Yeah, they won a weekend at Tennessee. Yeah, they won a weekend against Kentucky. But you realize that, like, Kentucky's not any good. Oklahoma's not any good. Vanderbilt's not that good. And you've already played your weekends against those teams. So there's opportunity. There's challenge coming. There's a lot of issues. And candidly, right now, as I sit here, just go beat Northwestern State in a baseball game tonight. I'll preview it coming up in the second hour. About 30 minutes from right now, I'll preview it and tell you what I'm looking for this evening. But that's what you got to look at right now. We'll step aside, take a time out, come back. There's a basketball transfer portal thought that I have had a chance to do a little bit of digging, and I'm hopeful that one's headed this way. We'll see.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Looking for that Generac home standby generator? Well, if you don't have one, you should. In this part of the world, we got power outages. We got nasty summer thunderstorms. We got hurricanes. We got winter storms. Sometimes the power goes out, and I look around and I don't even know why. Well, give yourself the peace of mind that that's not going to happen at your house. The folks at Boudreaux's Electrical can install that Generac home standby generator and give you the peace of mind to know you're not losing power. Maybe you work from home. You can't lose power at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday just because an August thunderstorm blew through. You can't lose power because you've got young kids at home. They can't be sitting in a 94-degree house. If you don't want to lose power, call Neil and Melissa Boudreaux. They've been running Boudreaux's Electrical for 40 years. They'll have a local team come and install that generator. They'll monitor it. They'll manage it and do the maintenance on it. It's a local company. 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562 or 225-300-9389. Boudreaux's Electrical Services.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
No matter what your medical situation is, there's a spot for you at Ochsner. Visit their symptom checker online at ochsner.org/findcare. If you're looking for primary care, that's your comprehensive and continuous care, your annual checkups, your headaches, maybe lower back pain, mild asthma. That's when you need to see a primary care doctor. You can do virtual visits there as well. If it's a little bit more, and I use the word intentionally, urgent, meaning you need some immediate care, you need to check into their urgent care situations. That's sprains, lacerations, cough, cold, sore throat, earache, maybe a mild to moderate stomach ache or minor burns. Urgent care. It's great that they welcome walk-ins. They're extended hours. You can find a location at ochsner.org/urgent care. Of course, you need to go to the ER or call 911 if you've got severe chest pain, severe bleeding, head trauma. That's where the emergency care comes in, maybe sudden vision loss or a severe allergic reaction, and Ochsner has that available to you as well. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there are virtual care options. My Ochsner virtual visits you can schedule online through My Ochsner. Download that My Ochsner app at www.ochsner.org/myo, or you can call Ochsner on call at 1-800-231-5257. That is Ochsner. I think that one thing that is moving towards its conclusion is Alan Graves' decision. I mentioned him on Friday. Alan is a Ponchatoula native. His older brother, Marshall, played for Will Wade at LSU. He went out to Santa Clara after a great prep career at Ponchatoula where they won a couple state championships, and he was West Coast Conference Freshman of the Year this year, the sixth man of the year. He was first team All West Coast Conference, had a phenomenal season, and he's now weighing his options, and these are the options I like to hear. Now, I realize there are Louisiana roots here at play, but it sounds like Alan Graves has three options. One is to play basketball at LSU next year. He's in the transfer portal, may do that. Another option is to go play for Duke. I like LSU and Duke in the same conversation. That makes me feel better. And the third option is to go play in the NBA, where he would very, very likely be a draft pick, potentially a late first-round draft choice. He's 6'9", 225 pounds, shot the ball exceptionally well. I watched some highlights of Graves today. He shoots the pick and pop three, catch and shoot three exceedingly well. Shot 40% from three-point range at 6'9" last year. That's a guy that could really be a really nice piece to Will Wade's first team here at LSU. Again, he's got a decision to make, but it feels like it might be trending in a good direction. We'll keep you posted on that. Sports Center's coming up. We'll talk some LSU when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about Marucci as well. Marucci Sports is such a cool asset here in Baton Rouge. You're talking about a place that makes the official bat of Major League Baseball. Visit the wood shop that puts the bats in the hands of the best players in the world, and they come from right here. You can hear the story of how Marucci came to be from a backyard shed to the official bat of Major League Baseball. They'll tell you that story on the campus tour. You can also see where they make 1,200 bats every single day that, again, go into the best hands in baseball. What an amazing thing. So if you've got a youth baseball team, got a youth softball team, got some kids under your roof, or just want to go check it out for yourself, go take a tour at Marucci. Go to maruccisports.com/campus-tour. Every single ticket comes with a 20% discount in the campus tour store and in the hitter's house. Check them out online, maruccisports.com. That's maruccisports.com.